Hi, welcome to the Baby Sleep Magic podcast. My name is Chantal Murphy, and in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about siblings and room sharing. This is something I do get asked quite often, and probably the biggest question I get asked is when can my children, share a room together? Look, in theory, there's no real definitive age where this can or can't happen. My biggest tip is to ensure that if you do decide to put two children together, is to ensure that you've got two great sleepers to begin with. Otherwise, what you might find is your good sleeper might get woken by the other one and the whole family's got broken sleep, which is obviously not ideal. I'll go through some of my top tips on what I do recommend when it comes to siblings and room sharing. My first tip is to optimize the room environment. Make sure you've got white noise. White noise is really good for drowning out external noises, but it also helps drown out one child from the other. So especially with room sharing, that can really be very beneficial. Darken the room. Darkness is key, especially this time of the year at the moment. We're in summer or coming into summer. It can get bright and light from as early as 4:35 in the morning. So darkness is key because if you've got one sensitive child opposed to the other, you might get the one waking the other one up really early, and that's not going to be the best start to your day. Separate the beds a little bit, or the cot. Just have them on opposite sides of the room if you can, just just to avoid them being too close to each other and again waking each other up. Have a bedtime routine in place. Bedtime routine is key for all children at all ages. And in some cases, depending on the age difference of the siblings, you may need to break up the bedtime routine. So as an example, older siblings might have their bedtime routine take place in the living room or even in mum and dad's bedroom, while the other one is, in the bedroom preparing for bed, in the room that they're going to be sleeping in. My other tip is to communicate. If you've got a child over the age of 2.5, they can usually comprehend most of what you're trying to explain about room sharing, about a baby, and discuss the transition with your child. Discuss your expectations, remain positive and enthusiastic, and also set some firm boundaries as well, because that's going to be helpful when it comes to any bedtime tactics you might experience. My other tip is to stagger bedtime. You may like to offer an earlier bedtime for the younger sibling when you move them into the same room, as this allows one child to fall asleep without being too disrupted by the other. To achieve this, what you might need to do is to coordinate their day so there's a 30 to 60 minute difference or gap when it comes to bedtime. Another tip is to allow for some fun time. So if you've got siblings that are close in age, what you might want to do is set some limits and be firm with your boundaries, but offer them some fun time with the lights on. So, I usually recommend allowing about 15 minutes for quiet, fun, chit-chat time together, and then it's lights out and sleep time, as this gives them a bit of an opportunity to get their last bit of excitement out or any last bit of conversations out prior to bedtime. Another tip is to be prepared. If you've got a child that is either stalling at bedtime, they try anything. I want to drink, I need to do a wee, I need to do a poo. They try anything. Try to identify if the requests are genuine and try to cover off any requests before even going into the bedroom. Because these little tiny annoyances normally can cause chaos if you've got a sleeping baby in the same bedroom. Have a backup plan. In the event things don't go to plan, have a porta cot on standby or a blow-up mattress or a single mattress or another bed set up in another safe space. So, in the event that things don't go to plan, you don't have to be running around at the last minute trying to set something up. And it might also ease the anxiety around room sharing as well. My last tip is to separate nap time to begin with, especially until your siblings have mastered sleeping together in the same room. Because, at nap time, it's very easily to get disrupted. And what you don't want to have is two children during the day that haven't napped. That is going to cause chaos for everyone. And you're going to have a really long day. So until they have really mastered sleeping together, I would really advise on napping them separately, whether that's, again, using a porta cot in a different room for the baby, or even if you get your older child to have a nap in mum or dad's bed as a special treat for being the big brother or sister. That can really be helpful as well. And finally, be firm and consistent. It's important to remain calm, patient, and consistent with your children's needs. Practice makes perfect, and these types of changes can take anywhere from a few days to a week or even a few weeks, depending on the situation and the age of your children. So, patience is also going to come along here as well. So look, I hope those few tips help when it comes to room sharing, or if you're deciding on room sharing. And if you do find this information helpful, please feel free to share it with another mum or a friend. And also, if you do have a few moments free, I'd really appreciate if you can just to leave us a brief review on iTunes, as this will help us grow. It'll also help us gain some more exposure, and in return it will just be able to help more parents and mums out there. So I'd really appreciate that if you can. Also, stay tuned. We've got some really exciting things happening. We're super close. We're hoping to get things finalised, obviously, before Christmas. And we're literally only weeks away. So stay tuned for all those changes. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.